They're really not. There are people in here who have very passionate ideas, very passionate radical views, and they got caught up in the crossfire. I don't know exactly what happened with them when they got taken down, or if they did any actions in the first place to be arrested, but I know that we're going to have to be there for them. Either way, right or wrong, we're going to be there for them.
Well, pleasure. Thanks for your time.
Yeah. I'll try.
Did you try to get in, by the way? Were they full? Or did they say? Or
We did. Tickets are sold out, baby.
Tickets are sold.
Did you share your name? I didn't get it.
I did. My name is Eric Baken. Eric with a C, Bacon like the food.
Are you from the Seattle area?
I am. I'm with an organization, Operation Sack Lunch. We feed people
Operation
Sack Lunch.
Sack Lunch. Is that kind of like Food Not Bombs?
It is without That's a little more of a radical organization.
You mean feeding the poor people?
Yeah. Well, they like using buckets and don't work with the health department as much as we try to.
Okay, so you try to interface with this greater system more than they do.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It was started about 24 years ago in Pioneer Square by some people who lived on Mercer Island, and they would give about 200 sack lunches a day off in Occidental Park.
Yeah.
Through networking and what have you, we now help feed 4 men's shelters. We do lunches for Nicholsville, 2 kids programs. We have our outdoor feeding site on 6th and Cherry, and we work completely with the health department. We are the only non-biotoxic kitchen, shelter kitchen in the United States. The shelter part's very specific.
Yeah, that's here in King County.
Absolutely. We're on 1st and Washington, right by the J&M and Revolution books.
Okay.
Non-biotoxic means that instead of using bleach or petroleum or any products like that, then I'm just going to be steam cleaning things and using H2O2.
Mm-hmm.
And we're very, very harsh about what our temp logs and how the food gets out there, and making sure that we're following all of our own. We're anarchists in the sense that we created our own rules and brought them to the health department, and they were like, hell yes. They love what we're doing, and we're becoming a flagship kitchen to be able to have other non-biotoxic kitchens open around.
Well, Eric, this is interesting to me for the reason that some have suggested that the only real path to permanent change is living our lives like we're already free and providing services that the government and the dominant institutions are failing to provide to meet the needs of the people. So it sounds like your emphasis, listening to you, of your organization is creating real change that people can put under their belt rather than just in the abstract. I hear a lot of abstractions. I'm very much interested in what people are doing to make a change in their own backyard. One of the faults that I find is I hear the history of the United States. Much of it is deplorable. You can't read "Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee" without realizing that there was just raw genocide that went on in the history of the U.S. But what I see right now today are people's cars trashed or slashed tires because some people think that the car's too nice. I see journalists assaulted, or just things that are contrary to what's commonly agreed as a desire to prevent force and fraud. That's a core function of government. You, on the other hand, your organization sounds like what they're trying to do is something the government has failed to do, and that's meet the needs of the most desperate people that are falling through the cracks.
Yeah.
The homeless, the poor, people that don't have enough to eat.
Our ethos is that food and nutrition is a human right, not a privilege.
There you go. See, now, where did you get this human right? You didn't get it from government, right?
No, you're born into that.
In other words, there's such a thing as natural laws and natural rights.
Yes.
Well, see, you and I are on the same page there. I believe that there are rights that exist and that you're born with them, and nobody can take them away from you legitimately. And you don't ask for your rights, you take them because they're yours.
Those are similar beliefs of the people that were around too. And their actions.
Except that they
can
violate
vary.
other people's rights, and while they're insisting on theirs, and there it breaks down.
Well, I was there on the May 1st as well, and just as I might
Were you
not have
there in
caused-
2000 and last year's 2012?
Absolutely, I was pepper sprayed by what was his face? Midnight Jack.
Okay, that's one of the superheroes,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And did you see the photos of the cars that were just parked on the side of the road with the windows smashed out?
Yeah.
How did you feel about that?
I wouldn't have parked there on a March day. And then I went on the news and I saw that one of the guys there was a tourist, and he parked there for maybe about 10 minutes and came back out, so the whole thing happened. Felt kind of bad for that guy.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have parked there on a March day.
It's been characterized as a non-violent demonstration, but there are many news reports that some of the poles that were used, the flagpoles to smash windows, were also used to attack journalists, a number of who had required medical attention from the injuries.
The biggest thing that as a journalist that I would take away from that experience is to stop taking pictures of people doing things that they don't want you taking pictures of, because they'll go after you with poles.
So
That's what I learned that year.
Okay, and how would you feel if a journalist pulled out a .32 and shot the person attacking him with a pole? Self-defense.
It is.
Yeah.
It's an interesting concept.
Yes.
An argument. It didn't happen though.
No, it hasn't happened yet. But you can see that the journalists at some of the May Day events are starting to become more resolute and more aggressive about exercising their First Amendment rights.
It makes more interesting, it's more entertaining, I would say. Then I know that person, like, let's say on the first this year, if you were you here for the first?
No, I was in Olympia.
So, did you see any footage of interactions between protesters and Cairo 7?
I did see one where the police were trying to interview, and there was a young woman using a lot of obscene language to interfere with the interview. And what I saw, so I haven't looked at all of the footage that went on Seattle. I've been spending most of my time recently closer to home. What went on in Olympia? Actually, there were no arrests in Olympia, and
I heard it was quiet there.
Yes, which a lot of people were relieved that it was quiet. Maybe some of the more radical anarchists are disappointed about that, but by and large, the community was relieved that there was no violence, and I was pleased that nobody was arrested.
Well, if I was an Olympia anarchist, and it was peaceful for that, then that'd probably be the way I wanted it to go. If I wanted it to go more bedlamy, then I think they would have chosen to do that.
You know, when a group that the public thinks that they can identify, it's difficult. It's a very broad umbrella. I mean, you're a very different kind of anarchist than many other anarchists, and so they don't all fit under the same label.
Yeah, that's kind of like the beauty of the human.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I would say the violent street radicals that believe in violence as a tactic are a fascist or somebody would like a totalitarian governance wet dream. I mean, they couldn't hope for a better enemy.
And you're talking, and that's in reference to how the first went?
Well, what I'm suggesting is that this will result in a ratcheting of violence. I mean, I really understand